You know, it's hard for me to tell who Republicans hate the most. I know they hate people of color, but they also hate the shit out of these poor Magas because at least we're smart enough for the most part not to vote for them. Magas watched them give speeches, heard them say they're going to cut from Medicaid and from SNAP programs, knew that they were going to cut their health care benefits and everything like that, and they still went and voted for them. Now they're publicly coming for the Magas because we all also know that red states take the most from the federal government. Red states get the most SNAP benefits. Red states need the most health care from the government. Red states get more of the benefits than any of the blue states do. And even knowing this, Mike Johnson is out there saying, we're going to cut from Medicaid and we're going to cut from SNAP programs. And they like to disguise it as cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. But make no mistake about it. When Mike Johnson is sitting here talking about cutting from SNAP benefits, he's coming for the Magas in red states. And he knows it because he's being told, hey, you realize this is going to hurt the people in the red states more, right? And he's like, I don't give a shit. They already voted for us.
Don't want to slash benefits. And again, I make this very clear. We are not cutting Medicaid. We are not cutting SNAP. We're working in the elements of fraud, waste, and abuse. SNAP, for example, listen to the statistics. In 2024, over $11 billion in SNAP payments were erroneous. I mean, that's a number that everyone acknowledges is real. It may be much higher than
Louisiana is like the
but
second largest
problem.
recipient
The
of food stamps in the country, sir. So
let me explain it, Margaret. Let me explain it. The states are not properly administering this because they don't have enough skin in the game. So what we've done in the bill is add just a modest state sharing component so that they'll pay attention to that, so that we can reduce fraud. Why? Again, so that it is preserved for the people that need it the most. This is common sense, Margaret. It's good government, and everybody on both sides of the aisle should agree to that.
And this is how they're going to cut these programs and hide it behind, well, there were erroneous payments. Let me explain to you what they mean when they say some of this money was erroneous. That means that because of clerical errors, someone got a couple more checks than they were supposed to, or got more money on their check than they were supposed to. A lot of times the government actually recovers this money. What they want to do now is when he says we want to make sure these states have some skin in the game, they're going to take money away from these states, try to make them use their own money to recover that, and they think there'll be less clerical errors because of that. That's not what's going to happen. What they know is going to happen, because this is what they want, is that those states are going to have to take these benefits away from people who actually need those benefits. But Mike Johnson and the Republican Party does not give a damn. They don't care that red states need it the most because, like I said in the beginning, I don't know who they hate more, people of color or these poor-ass Magas in red states. And then they do the same thing with Medicaid. They talk about, oh, we're going to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. If you're an able-bodied person and you don't want to work, we're going to make you go to work.
We looked at your home state, and the projection is that nearly 200,000 Louisianans will lose their Medicaid coverage because of this. How do you defend that to your constituents?
We have not cut Medicaid and we have not cut SNAP. What we're doing, Margaret, is working on fraud, waste, and abuse. And everyone in Louisiana and around the country understands that that's a responsibility of Congress. Just in Medicaid, for example, you've got 1.4 million illegal aliens receiving those benefits. That is not what Medicaid is intended for. It's intended for vulnerable populations, for young single pregnant women and the elderly and the disabled and people who desperately need those resources. Right now, they're being drained by fraud, waste, and abuse. You got about 4.8 million people on Medicaid right now nationwide who are able-bodied workers, young men, for example, who are not working, who are taking advantage of the system. If you are able to work and you refuse to do so, you are defrauding the system. You're cheating the system. And no one in the country believes that that's right. So there's a moral component to what we're doing.
Okay, so first I want to be clear here. There's no reason for me to believe that any number Mike Johnson spits out of his mouth is actually true, because This $11 billion number, we can't find that anyway. This whole thing about 1.5 million illegal aliens being on Medicaid, that's not even possible. In order for it, and we know that they will call people illegal when they have legal status in this country. The only way you can get Medicaid in this country is as a person who is from another country, you have to have some type of qualified legal status. So Mike Johnson and Republicans love to just say anyone who's in this country that is not a citizen is illegal. And we know that's not true. But when he talks about when she said 200,000 people from your home state are going to be cut from Medicaid, and he says, we haven't cut Medicaid. Yeah, the bill hasn't passed yet. When the bill passes, that's going to be cuts to Medicaid. Those people are going to lose their Medicaid. And they keep saying waste, fraud, and abuse. Understand something. Fraud is illegal. They keep talking about all this fraud that has happened. Why haven't we seen one person get indicted for all this fraud? Fraud is illegal. They keep saying fraud. Why is no one being arrested? So that, again, is another one of their lies. And if you're watching this video and you think at any point, well, those people who, are able-bodied, they should be working. We're allowing people like Mike Johnson and Republicans to define what able-bodied is. Oh, you have a little brain damage from a car accident? There's a job you can do. You lost a couple of fingers in that machinery that you were working at? There's a job you can do. We're going to allow them to define what able-bodied is. Not to mention, another thing I want you to realize, if you're watching this video and at any point you start to think, well, we're spending a lot of money on these people. Why can't we cut? Has anyone ever asked where we're getting the money from to have Donald Trump golf every weekend? Has anyone ever asked where the money comes from when we send bombs over to other countries? When we give free money to other countries to fight wars, no one ever says, why aren't we cutting that? No one ever says that's waste, fraud, and abuse. But the second we talk about helping out poor and working class people, all of a sudden we want to make sure that we're cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. And the last thing I want to say about this is, in order to be on Medicaid, Medicaid is tied to income. People on Medicaid are already working. The problem is many of them are working for companies that aren't paying them a livable wage, so they still qualify for Medicaid. So if Mike Johnson and Republicans and Donald Trump wanted to help poor and working class people, they would make these companies who make billions on top of billions every single year pay their employees a livable wage. They don't, because they don't care about them. As I said in the beginning of this video, they're coming for you now, Magas. How does that make you feel? Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.